back to my channel. So today I thought that I would make a video in terms of like my forward planning system and part of my planning routine and all of that stuff. So without wasting any time, we're going to jump straight in. So this video is probably going to be short and sweet, and I can appreciate short and sweet because the last couple of videos I've made have been extremely long. So you guys have seen this before on my channel. It is a field notes cover. I ordered it from Etsy from a seller who had a shop named Daryl Standing. Unfortunately, his shop is no longer open. And yeah, that's all I can really basically say about it. But I've used this cover this year and really love this cover. I'll get into this book, but yeah, so let's jump into this. So I have shared on my channel that I have used a Passport Weekly booklet for my basic forward planning system. I do have like an on-the-go booklet wallet situation, but I don't gravitate it as much because I don't go many places anymore, especially since we moved here. I'm not going many places, so I don't really feel a need to have it. But for this is extremely portable and lightweight, unlike my disc bound system. And I just like having this with me room to room, especially because I can close it up like this and just take it with me, opposed to having to lug my disc bound system around. My main planner, which is the disc, by the way, just sits on the counter and maybe on the couch when I have downtime to plan in it. But I do reference it throughout the day because it holds everything pertaining to what needs to happen for that day. But in terms of like the bigger things and things that I can jot quickly, I've been using this. So this book, unfortunately, like the shop I got this cover from, is nowhere to be found. I ordered it on the Amazon for Germany, and I swear like right after I ordered it, it's like the seller just stopped selling it or it became unavailable, but I cannot find it for you if you are inquiring about it. So I do apologize for that. But it came with a pack of 2 books, and they are weekly books, like I mentioned, and they are 6 months each book. So I finished the first 6 months, and I felt really good about it because this year I have actually been finishing books, but they've all been in pocket size. So basically, I've been journaling and planning in these pocket size planners all year round, despite me changing my main planner so much. So nonetheless, the book asks you some corny questions in the beginning, like things about you, things that make you happy, and things you want to improve on. I tend to fill them out because those are things that make me happy, and it's just always good to see like what your things that make you happy have changed to be when you start a new book, and things you want to improve on 6 months after you've get halfway through the year and you figure these are some newer things that I want to improve on. So I just like to keep those things in mind, so that way when I go back to look on this, it's there. And then you have your key monthly events or monthly overview. And basically what I use this for is I write down the holidays that I care about or care to remember. And then I write down all the events that seem to pop up. This is a really good reference because I can literally jot down events as they tend to pop up right then and there. I fill this out at the start of setting up this book, and so this page really helps. There isn't a whole lot of events that usually pop up, so this small spread is perfect for me because, like ever so rarely I'm going to fill this whole thing with events. Surprisingly, the first book that I completed, I did end up filling majority of these boxes completely up, and then I had to go to the back of the book to add stuff. But I don't think that will be the case. And so this is enough space for me. But basically, what I do is I put down all the holidays and like birthdays in these lined boxes. And then this bigger blank box is what I use to add things like, for instance, my husband has training coming up in October and he has a class this month. So those kind of things I just add in so that way I can already tell that they're there. The back of this book has some note pages and some more corny things like new places to visit and new things to try. And this is where I jot down all of those things that I've been meaning to keep but keep forgetting. So whenever I am writing or whenever I want to remember something, like for instance, before I got my plum paper planner, I had wrote it down as something that I wanted to try. I wanted to try the ARC system, but I ended up with the plum paper. So it's still something that I want to try. I still want to try the Franklin Covey system. So these are centered around my hobbies, things that I want to try, like things that I'm really interested in. That's what this section is for me. I don't actually have a book specific to that, but this section and these things are just, they pertain to me. And then places that I want to visit. There are a couple of places that I want to visit, and I tried to remember all of those places, especially when I am planning our family trips. So I do capture them here. In the last book that I finished, I did capture a couple of places that I wanted to visit, and we only got to visit maybe 2 of those places out of that book. So extremely useful and helpful, especially if you are a pen to paper kind of a person and you really just want to see things like this versus screenshotting it and saving it digitally. I do that too, but I tend to clean out my camera roll. So oftentimes the stuff that I screenshot, I delete. And then again, like I said, it has some note pages and a sketch page. I use this to basically write like notes about stuff that I'm doing. So currently right now is writing notes about my current system, like my plum paper planner. And then I was writing out the things that I wanted for my plum paper planner and the cost for that. And then like I recently canceled my Sweet Kawaii Design subscription and went with the plum paper subscription. Made more sense to me because I'm in the plum paper and I wanted stickers that fit that. So those are just randoms, but that means that this book pretty much holds all the things that I usually think about all the time when it comes to like myself and household tasks. These weeklies, I'll flip through them. These weeklies I use to capture like the bigger task, or I'll usually write like some things that might be happening. It looks like there's something happening every single day, but basically what I use my weeklies in this book for is like reminders, small tasks, the things that I always mean to add to my main planner in terms of like reminders or things that I tend to add to sticky notes. I add them in here because 9 times out of 10, this is what I'm going to see first before I open up my main planner and see it. It is until the end of the day that I sit down and really write the things out that I've captured in here into my main planner. And sometimes I don't even get to my main planner until the following day because of how busy our life is sometimes. Like my son might be a little bit more active today, and so I might be a little too tired to sit down and plan in my main planner. So oftentimes I will just jot things down here and then add them to that planner later. So this comes in handy in terms of just capturing everything that I want to get done during the day, during the week. Sometimes I journal stuff like we caught COVID. And yeah, basically I write reminders, I write things that pop up. I have tracked medications and whatnot, medications and vitamins in this book. I did it fairly religiously in the first book. But this second half of the year, I seem to be struggling, and it's it's no wonder that I'm struggling because we moved from Germany back to the States. And so everything was off. And so I haven't been tracking really. And just this week, this is the current week, I've been starting to track it again. It's just a little hard to get back into it. I mentioned that some of the medications and vitamins that I was taking was making me sick. And I thought that I would just start it back up again just to see, like, is it still making me feel that way, or was it just COVID that was affecting the way that I was feeling when I was taking them? So that's that. And like I mentioned, I use this book for forward planning. I do a month at a time. So I set up a whole month. And then as things come up during the month, I will usually just add them to that week. So, for instance, we are here, but I know there's something coming up here on this Friday. So, I will usually just add that to the calendar and or to the weekly. And if there's something coming up that is not in the month of August, then that's where these back pages also get used, because I can literally just write the date and then write what week or what have you it is coming up in. Or like I mentioned, I can use the front part of this book and write it in here, but I try to save this part of the book for the major events. So that's how I'm using this little weekly booklet to kind of forward plan and basically capture some of the things that I don't always get to write in my main planner. Now, in terms of journaling, I use a Moleskine Cahier book, and I completed 2 of these books so far this year, and this would be the 3rd Cahier book that I'm using. But I also used this Paper Blanks book as well to kind of journal in. So I've gotten this question a couple of times, and I felt like, I would explain this in this video, because it's a lot easier to explain here than to type out a long worded paragraph. But basically, I journal whenever I want to. I have a small kid, but I don't let him hinder me from journaling. There are times when I start to journal because I think maybe he is, hanging out for a bit and maybe I have a little downtime. But because I think that he might have some time to just chill out for a minute, it doesn't always pan out that way. Sometimes I start a journal entry and then he bothers me, and I don't think that he's bothering me, but he might, come over to be hugged or kissed or played with, and oftentimes I have to step away from my journal. Now, where I get the most time to journal is during the mornings, basically, and when he goes to sleep. But basically, I try to do it as often as I can, even when, he's up and active. So usually in the morning times when he's watching his cartoons after he's had breakfast, he's usually not interested in playing because he's still kind of tired. And I use that as downtime to kind of write. And I am just a writer, and I just don't care to do too much decorating, so it's easier for me to get through these books because I don't decorate the pages as often. Now, if I wanted to do more extensive journaling like I was doing in here, where I tipped in some stuff, this is something I tipped in. We went to the zoo in Germany. This was like right before we left. If I want to do stuff like that, then I'll set aside some time on a weekend or something like that where my husband usually takes him, and I will do that. My husband usually takes over after he gets off work. I try not to leave my husband by himself, but oftentimes, he gives me time to go play a little bit, and so I take advantage of that. But having such a small book like this, like, I don't think there's no more than 60 pages in this book. Having a small book like this is really beneficial for journaling because you can finish it a lot quicker opposed to a bigger book. And then having a book like this is fun because you can stay in it longer. But sometimes when you get bored, like I got bored with journaling in here, I got halfway through this book, and then I just discovered that, I wanted to try something different. I sat it to the side, and then when I'm done with this one, I'll go back to this one. But those are some of the things that I have done to journal, and I hope that answers in the best way that I could explain it. I hope that answers the question as to how I'm able to journal more often. Short story, my husband gives me time to play, and I also use the downtime that my son allows for me to do the things that I love. But I'm always going to find time to do the things that I love because it helps with my sanity and also makes me really happy. But I just wanted to share like my whole forwarding planning forward planning system and like my passport in general. I just wanted to share that with you in a quick short little video. I hope you guys found it useful. I hope you guys was able to take away something from it. If you have any questions in terms of like my whole pocket planning journey and all that stuff, I would be more than happy to answer those questions for you or even give you little tips because I've been in pocket and sizes like this pretty often. So I feel like I can navigate through the pocket planner lifestyle pretty well. So if you have any questions in terms of that, I can definitely help you out in that area. But until then, guys, that is all that I have for you, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.